Hey everybody, it's Spencer here again. Today we are going to be talking a little bit about aeration and overseeding. So it's leaning into fall here in Tennessee, and this is kind of a big thing around here. Definitely feels like it's more so now than it used to be. This is a great service to offer if you're in the landscaping or lawn care business. It's a good way to diversify your business and offer your customers more services. That way they may not have to outsource these to other companies or your competition. This is a great revenue stream. So the big reason to do aeration and overseeding is you want to pull those plugs out of the ground. We're typically looking for 2 to 3 inch long plugs, and what this does is it allows water and nutrients to get into the soil, and it also offers soil decompaction. This lets the soil breathe a little bit, and it's going to greatly benefit the roots of your grass. So after you do the core aeration and you pull your plugs, we immediately go back over the yard using a broadcast spreader and put down fescue grass in this area here. We primarily use a turf type fescue. We apply that at around 5 to 7 pounds per 1,000 square feet, depending on what the customer's yard needs. That's usually a pretty good area to stick with, and we have good results putting it down at that seed rate. So let's talk a little bit about the aerator that I use and why I chose this machine. I did a lot of research into the different machines when I decided to buy a ride-on machine. A lot of my friends in the business have told me to steer away from the Exmarks, the Ryans, the other ones that are chain-driven machines. From a user standpoint, because I have used them, they do operate largely the same, but they said from an owner standpoint, I would greatly regret having to adjust those chains, replace chains, keep tensions, and always check the sprockets on those machines. So I sought out to buy a Stinger or a Lesco, which is essentially the same machine. I found a Lesco machine. The only difference is the paint is green instead of yellow, and the Lesco machines use a Vanguard motor instead of the Kawasaki motor. I've put right at 45 hours on this machine, and I've had 0 issues with the machine so far. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, if you are on the fence about getting into aeration and seeding, maybe you're a little nervous about spending the money, I'm going to be honest with you guys, this machine has paid itself back already in the 45 hours that I've put on it. And if you're around equipment a lot, you're in the business a lot, you know that for a machine to be able to pay itself back in revenue in 45 hours or less is simply amazing, especially at this day and age. Let's look at the underneath of this machine. Like I was saying, the Exmarks, the Toro, some of the other ones are chain driven. There's several chains with sprockets that generally run in this area here. This machine is all hydraulically driven, so you don't get any of the chain and sprockets, and you don't get the extra maintenance you need to do that. There is a wheel motor that will drive each tire, just like a zero-turn mower, but there's also a wheel motor that drives the outside tines on each side. As you can see, these are pretty stiff right now, won't move because they are tied into that wheel motor, but the center 2 sets of tines are free spinning. The benefit of this is you get your traction from driving the machine with the tires like you would a lawnmower, but you're also getting added traction because these tines are also driven by their own wheel motor. What that does is that gives you well increased stability on hills, and I'll be honest with you, this thing will climb all over hills because those tines help drive the machine. So moving to the back of the machine, we have the operator platform here. It is a little bit cushioned with some rubber bushings. It's not great, but it's not awful for the amount that you actually ride these machines. It's no worse than most of your stand-on mowers. The platform does fold up with this pin right here. It will fold up flush to give you more room for storage or on the trailer. Moving up to the operator's platform here, you can see our gauge right here that tells you what PSI you're running your tines at. You've got your up and down switch here, and as you can see, you can do tines up, tines down. And that when you have the tines down, you can push your foot pedal to raise the tines. When you've got the tines set to up, you push your foot pedal to lower the tines. So it's very user friendly, and it is customizable to your preference, which is great. Over here, you've got the tine adjustment. So you loosen the locking mechanism, and then you can adjust your pressure up and down and then you re-engage the locking mechanism to make sure that you don't come out of adjustment while you're riding through somebody's yard. So a question that I get asked a lot by people who are in the business, who are maybe just starting out, and this is something that I had to learn myself as well, is what pressure do you want to run these tines at? Around here in Middle Tennessee, if the soil has some moisture in it, which would be ideal for aerating anyway, I usually can pull 2 to 3 inch plugs with my tine pressure set between 250 to 350 psi. That's definitely adequate. If you're looking like you're having to push 500, 600, 700 psi on those tines, the soil is probably not ideal to be aerated, and you should probably hold off till maybe a little rain comes down, because you're probably not going to do the quality of job that you or your customers are looking for. So what I'm going to do now is set up my phone and make a couple passes with this aerator so you can see how it works, and then we'll take a look at the plugs I'm able to pull with this machine to see what we're looking for with that. So this may be a little tough to see because this grass has not been cut low for aeration yet. Just doing this for a demonstration. But these are the plugs that were pulled by the machine. As you can see, they're pretty much perfect in length for what we do around here. Most of these plugs are right about 2 inches in length. I will fire up the machine real quick to show y'all that those cores, which are about 2 inches in length, were pulled at 300 psi. So just at or under 300 psi, and I was able to pull those cores. Like I say, that's pretty typical around here in Tennessee if you have some moisture in the soil, which we do right now. All right, so I did a couple short passes there with the aerator. One thing that I do want to point out on this machine is the tines obviously do not go all the way out here. So when you're driving the machine, you've got to take into account that if you're wanting to do a quality job for your yard, your customer's yard, or whoever, that you do overlap your passes enough that the tines are engaging without missing. This is about 1 foot here of width between the tines and the outside of the tire. If you don't overlap your passes, you're not going to get complete aeration with this machine. So another thing to mention is a lot of these companies that have been buying these Stinger and Lesco aerators have been adding the seed box that goes here that's provided by the manufacturer. Everybody raves about the seed box, says that they are great time savers and they've had great results in the spring, you know, with the seed drop rates and how it functions. It's a drop seeder, so it drops the seed directly over top of the tines there. At this point in my aeration and overseeding, I have not spent the money to add the seed box to my machine yet. One day I might, but for now I use this Lesco push seeder. It's the 80-pound push seeder, and I'll be honest, for what I'm doing right now, this has been more than adequate. Most of the yards I'm seeding are an acre or less, with the majority of them being a half acre or less, and this push seeder does just fine for that. It does have an edge guard that drops down. It's got the third hole function on it that you can close off, and it's got a rain cover. So while I have heard great reviews over the drop seeders that you can put on these machines, right now I'm going to continue to use my push spreader, because where I'm at in the business, that is definitely more than adequate for what I'm doing. So that's just a pretty quick little tidbit about core aeration, overseeding. I know it was very short, a short look at the machine, but if you guys have any questions regarding aeration, overseeding, any questions about the machine, any questions about the push spreader, feel free to leave me a comment and I'll try to answer your questions the best I can.